we'll study control and coordination. How does the human body work? How does control and coordination works in human body, happens in human body? For that we need to understand, the easiest way to understand the human body is by the study of different systems of the human body. In human body, systems like respiratory system, digestive system, circulatory system, nervous system, hormonal system, all these systems work together as a team. When we understand how exactly these systems are related to each other, we will ultimately able to understand how the control and coordination inside the body of all the different movements, of all the different reactions that take place inside and outside the body happen. We'll see few examples of this coordination. Coordination in human body occurs in two types. First type of coordination is inside the body, between the two systems. And second type of coordination is coordination between the system and the external environment. We'll see few examples of coordination that takes place between the two systems. First example, we'll learn about the coordination between respiratory system, circulatory and the skeletal muscular system. Let's see few examples of the coordination between the two systems of the body. First example we can take is the respiratory system, circulatory system and the muscular system. The oxygen that we inhale through respiratory system, it reaches the bloodstream and then go through the circulatory system, it reaches the muscles. That oxygen provides energy to the muscles, helps in providing energy to the muscles. So when a person exercises, works out more, there is more demand of oxygen present in the body, for the body, for the muscles, and thus the respiratory rate increases. This relation, this correlation, this coordination is seen in many other systems. For example, the hormonal system, the digestive system. Whenever there is afternoon time, whenever there is morning time, the specific times of the lunch and dinner, person feels hungry. This is the coordination present between the environment and the body. There are other examples such as the nerve impulses from the brain. These nerve impulses reach the secretory system, the digestive system, and also the nerve impulses from the brain, they reach the hormonal system also. Let's see few examples of coordination between the body and the environment. The systems of the body, they adapt, they change according to the change in the environment. This control and coordination can be seen by few examples, like we can see in summer season, there's lot of heat outside. At that time, body starts sweating a lot, our skin starts sweating a lot, and the sweat that spreads on the surface of the skin, it lowers the body to its normal temperature, that is 37 degrees Celsius. This temperature, maintenance of the temperature is carried out by the body with the help of nervous system. Then we can see few more examples, like in winter. In winter season, there is lot of cold outside, and body ultimately you start feeling more and more hungry. The body reacts to the cold outside by secreting more and more acid, thus more and more hunger is present. You tend to eat more and eat heavy foods. There's more of metabolism and heat energy is generated. That heat energy helps in maintaining the temperature of body to the normal 37 degrees Celsius. So we have seen how both in summer and in winter body temperature is maintained to the normal level. Also we have seen that in winter we sweat less. The pores of the skin, they contract, and as they constrict, the body volume increases. When sweat goes out, body volume will decrease. When you don't sweat, body volume will increase. So that increased body volume acts as an incubator for us, and thus increasing the body temperature and helps us to survive the winter. Also, we can see few examples, like in some infectious diseases, when there is some attack of microorganisms on the body, there is an adaptation, there is a coordination between the systems. For example, in our circulatory system there are a lot of microorganisms present, like they can be bacteria, they can be viruses. So entire metabolism of the body decreases. So ultimately body starts its own coping mechanism, and that because of which the hunger decreases. So there is less of food, less of appetite, with thus the metabolism, the basic metabolism of the body is decreased, and that is the actual coping mechanism of the body to fight the diseases. This control and coordination between the different systems has been termed specifically as homeostasis. What is exactly homeostasis? It is the continuous process of adjustment in which the change in life processes occur in accordance with the change inside and outside the body. This is called as homeostasis. Homeostasis has a major role in complete control and coordination of the body. This homeostasis is also seen in animals and even plants. In animals like snake, they tend to live in cold and wet areas, damp areas, so that their body temperature, which is usually higher, is kept cold. We all know that snake has venom, which is an poison. So ultimately the body temperature of snakes will be high. So they tend to live in cold areas. Also, we have seen that these frogs usually are not seen in summer and winter seasons. They only arise in, they come out in rainy seasons. This is their adaptation. This is their coordination with the environment that their body does. In various processes, we have to when we are studying control and coordination in human body, there are two basics and most important systems that are major part of this control and coordination. First system is the nervous system and the second is the endocrine system. We'll step by step study what exactly is the role of nervous system and the endocrine system in this control and coordination. We'll start with human nervous system. Human nervous system basically consists of two parts. First is the central nervous system and second is the peripheral nervous system. Central nervous system is the basic focus of the nervous system. It consists of brain and spinal cord. Brain has two parts, cerebrum, cerebellum. Then we go to peripheral nervous system. Peripheral nervous system basically consists of nerves. These nerve fibers are of two types, afferent nerves and the efferent nerves. We'll step by step study how exactly these parts of the brain help in control and coordination. First is CNS. What exactly is CNS? Central nervous system. It regulates all the actions of the body. We can understand the functioning of central nervous system by taking a simple example of a computer. In a computer, first grossly studying a computer, the keyboard, the mouse, the printer and the monitor and the webcam and all the accessories and the connecting wires, these all collect the data. Either they collect the data or they exhibit the data. Okay, but the basic analysis of the data and the grouping of the data, the analysis. Central nervous system, central nervous system, it regulates all the actions of the human body. We can understand the functioning of central nervous system by taking a simple example of a computer. In a computer, we have the keyboard, the mouse, the monitor, the accessories like webcam, and we have those connecting wires. These parts, they collect and transmit and display the data. They collect, they transmit and they display the data. But the sorting and the analysis of the data is done by the CPU. In human body, CNS is that CPU. The central nervous system of the body acts as the CPU of the computer. It sorts and analyzes the data, and then it transmits it to the nerves and thus the other parts of the body. We'll step by step see the functions of different part of the CNS. CNS consists of brain and spinal cord. First, brain is divided into cerebrum and cerebellum. Cerebrum is the most important part of the brain. It has two hemispheres, the left and the right hemisphere. And this cerebrum has the centers of all the sense organs, the smell, the taste, the vision and olfactory, everything. All these centers are present in the cerebrum. At this centers of the cerebrum, data is collected from the nerves, it is analyzed and the appropriate reaction output is given. Then second part of the brain is the cerebellum. This cerebellum has a major role in the balance of the body. It is more important part for locomotion, for motion of different parts of the body. And third part is the spinal cord. This spinal cord, which starts from the base of the skull and ends towards the
lot of students waste their precious time watching cartoons, movies, reality shows on TV. Then they waste their time on social networking sites. When the students sit to study, they are unable to concentrate to get your studies finished, and they get low marks in exams. Parents shell out tons of money from their pockets for coaching classes. But who knows what is taught in these classes? Teachers at times get bugged up when you ask them questions. YouTube has a lot of information but little of use. This is where Study Spectrum TV channel comes in picture. Every chapter explained by different teachers with different examples and repeat telecasts. We remember 20% of the audio ads we hear, 30% of the printed items we see. But we remember 70% of the audio visuals. That is why video teaching is a powerful medium to learn. After watching Study Spectrum TV channel, you get a peaceful sleep with no tensions and no worries. You devote less time towards your studies and you get better marks in your exams. Visit us on www.studyspectrum.com. Follow us on Facebook. So what are you waiting for? Subscribe for Study Spectrum TV channel and keep edifying.
We'll see the functions of spinal cord. The spinal cord, which is part of the central nervous system, it starts from the base of the skull to the spine, and this spinal cord, it has the roots of all the nerves that go to different parts of the body. Thus some sections of spinal cord provide nerve supply to some sections of the body. If these sections are hampered or undergo any change, the related section of the body is affected. We'll study the peripheral nervous system. Peripheral nervous system, this consists of all the nerves. This part of the nervous system collects the data and transmits from it to the brain. It collects data from the environment and from other systems of the body, and it transmits it to the brain. This transmission is done with the help of nerve fibers. What exactly are these nerve fibers? These are the modified cells. Nerve fibers are the modified cells which are packed in bundles in the form of nerve fiber, and they transmit the data in the form of electric and chemical impulse. There are two types of nerves in the peripheral nervous system. First type is afferent nerves and second is efferent nerves. What are afferent nerves? Afferent nerves are those nerves which bring the information from different parts of the body to the CNS. And efferent nerves are those nerves which transmit the data from the CNS to different parts of the body. You may wonder how exactly this transmission takes place. You can see the diagram of a neuron. Neuron is the basic functional unit of CNS. This neuron is nothing but a normal cell, but in a modified way, which collects the electric and impulse in the form of some chemical substance, and it transmits it to the next neuron. All these neurons are lined up together to form a nerve fiber. These neuron usually has two parts, axon and dendron, and it has its dendrites, and this is the way the peripheral nervous system works. We'll now see reflex action. What is reflex action? Reflex action is the immediate reaction of the body to an external stimulus or action. This reflex action, we experience reflex action every day to day. We have many examples of different examples, such as watering of your mouth when you see some tamarind. Then there is abduction of your hand when you touch a hot substance, making of a sound, screaming when someone pokes you. All these are the reflex actions of your body. There comes a stimulus. Stimulus reaches your senses, your sense organs. From your sense organs, it is transmitted via nerves to the brain, and from the brain the reaction comes, which is given to the sense organs. In reflex action, the stimulus received by the sense organs is transmitted via nerve fibers to the brain, and in brain that it is analyzed, and again the response is sent from brain to the muscles, the receiving side. This cycle of reflex action has a very small span. It is not as a normal transmission of signal. It is faster, because in reflex action most of the times the central part, the CNS action, the analyzing action is done in the spinal cord. The spinal cord has those cells which analyze the data, and thus reducing the time of reaction. This reduced time of reaction leads to the name called reflex action. That's why it is very quick. We've seen how the nervous system works. Now in nervous system, we have seen the central nervous system, the peripheral nervous system, and how peripheral and central nervous system are linked together. They work in coordination with each other for the resultant of control and coordination. Now we'll see how the second part, that is has the major role in control and coordination, that is the endocrine system. What is exactly endocrine system? The endocrine system is a group of endocrine glands that are present inside the human body. What is endocrine glands? We have to study what is. These are the ductless glands. Then if there are ductless glands, there will be some glands with duct. What are those called? Yes, there are two types of glands in the body. One is exocrine glands and another is endocrine glands. The exocrine glands, they secrete their hormones and secretion through the ducts. The example of exocrine glands is liver, pancreas. They have their specific ducts through which they secrete their hormones and the. Then we have endocrine gland. These are the ductless glands. What exactly do you mean by ductless glands? That means wherever these glands are situated inside your body, they secrete the hormones directly into the peripheral bloodstream. From that bloodstream, these hormones are carried to all the parts of the body, and thus resulting to an effect of a major magnitude or a bigger magnitude. Their major function of these endocrine glands is the growth and the development. The growth of the body, development of the secondary sexual characters of the body, release of enzymes in the digestion, release of other hormones. All these functions are carried out by the endocrine glands. In the endocrine glands, like in nervous system, we had the basic functional unit like the nerve. We have seen what is a nerve, we have seen what is a neuron. So in a endocrine gland, the basic functional unit is an hormone. What exactly is a hormone? This hormone are the chemical substances that control the life processes of the human body. These hormones are released by the endocrine glands where they are demanded. These hormones, when reach the cellular level via blood, they trigger a chemical reaction and thus stimulating the cell to form some specialized characters. These hormones, through the blood cells, they reach to the bloodstream, they reach to the cells and thus developing the growth of the cells. Either they will develop the cell in the field of growth, or either it will specialize those cells to perform some other functions, like growth hormone, which is secreted by the pituitary gland. When it reaches the entire body, it ultimately leads to increase in the height, in increasing the weight, in increasing the bones, length of the bones, strength of the bones. And the same way, we can take the example of testosterone. When this hormone is secreted by the testicles, this hormones leads to the development of the secondary sexual characters in the males. For example, beard, the mustache, and there are some other hormones which are stimulatory hormones. These hormones are secreted from the pituitary gland of the brain, and when these hormones reach the other glands of the body, they stimulate those glands to produce their own hormones. For example, thyroid stimulating hormone, which is secreted from the pituitary gland, when it reaches the thyroid, it helps the thyroid gland to produce its own hormone, that is thyroxine. When the level of thyroid stimulating hormone drops, ultimately level of thyroxine will drop. Then there are some certain hormones, their increase or decrease in the body is dependent upon the age. For example, the estrogen, progesterone, these hormones are present in and absent in the body at the time of puberty or menopause, depending on the age of the females. To collectively, all these hormones together, they ultimately help the body to coordinate with the environment also and the systems together also. These hormones are basically the stimulatory factors for the reproductive system, for the circulatory system, for the growth, majorly for the growth process, the adaptations that takes place with the age. These hormones are very much responsible for that. We'll now see how growth is present in animals, how this growth is seen in the animals.